Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mage,
And this is Wrecktify.
and today we are going to be bringing you somewhat of an interesting match. While most of you may know that we are on the 17th season of the FFA Masters League at this point, we're going back old school here, and we're going to cast the Season 10 finals of the FFA Masters League. I suspect a lot of you probably actually have not seen this because you are newer to the free-for-all scene, but I suspect that this will be a very enjoyable match both for those that have seen it and those that haven't. We've queued it up to the 10-second mark here, and assuming Wrecktify is all set, we're going to go ahead and get this started. And you ready, Rec?
All right, let's do this. Leroy Jenkins.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so I'm going to start up top here. This is probably the most recognizable player in the match here. We've got 3WD Simo, or however the hell he wants to pronounce his name. But he's actually Magadansky. This was played on GGC back when Maga used his old 3WD clan tag because it was the only one he had and he was too cheap to make a new one. Down here in the bottom right we have Human Star, who is a pretty well-known human player. He's certainly been around a while, and this was back during his spree of making the finals in about 3 out of 4 seasons, I think, so probably pretty much you could call it his hotspot. In the bottom left, the red human is HTRT, or Piz, as he may be better known in the solo community. A very innovative player who's had his ups and downs. Our last player at the 9 o'clock position is the blue orc, Daseland, or Dase. Maybe I'm mispronouncing it, I probably am. But he's pretty well known for being very micro-intensive and not having a whole lot of luck using chat for manipulation. He took a brief hiatus, but he is back in the 17th season. No, never mind, that's YC. They're all the same.
All those orc abusers are the same to us poor net elves.
I completely agree, although you don't get to complain, you're also a human player.
Hey. All right, you're right.
Alright, so we can see by the spawn here, Dase is in the unfortunate position of being between Magadansky and HTRT. Great spawn here for Human Star, who is opening up with the Mountain King. This is pretty much the literal best spawn that he could get. Besides the obvious, any initial takeaways from this wreck?
Well, I'm going to start off by saying I called Daseland because I misread his name the first time I ever saw him, and he was always Daseland to me, which either drove him nuts or he found nice. But to get to the actual game, Human Star, he kind of got a... I know everybody would love to have this cross-map opening that he's got, but it immediately puts you in Maga's crosshairs because he's going to know that you're going to be out there on your own doing your own thing. Whereas everybody assumes that someone like in Dace's position, or even in HTRT's position, you know, when you don't have the best spawn, you're not as focused down as I believe Human Star ends up getting later in this game.
So what do you think about Dase's decision here to go with selling his Scroll of Teleportation early on and picking up the Healing Salves and Lesser Clarity Potion? Pretty common move within the solo community, but certainly not something you see a whole lot of within free-for-all, since Scrolls of Teleportation are kind of your lifeblood, as you are forced to save an entire army.
Yeah, absolutely. On this map, this is like the one map that'll actually give orcs a free pass to doing this no racks tech on, because as you can see, he did a great job of it. You can abuse the crappy AI of the Murlocs here, or Makuras, whatever the hell they are, and actually free creep it with just your Blade Master. I'm guessing, though, if he had scouted first before kind of committing to the no racks tech, that he might have actually gotten a barracks just to be able to break out of that spawn a little bit easier.
Yeah, if you were in Dase's position, would you try and break out on Magadansky, who probably is pretty much expecting it but does have Undead, or would you try and break out on HTRT, who's a little bit of a lesser-known player at this point, and Dase might feel like he could out-macro him?
Well, I mean, assuming I was playing Orc like Dace, I would probably try to break out on HTRT, simply because, one, if you're not like a super good Orc player, if you're more like a average Orc player, that advantage over someone like Maga, who at this point was still like super good in terms of, you know, he just got off of being a solo player, I wouldn't feel confident going up against him. Whereas if I could kind of abuse Boots of Speed and really focusing down HTRT's Archmage, I would be confident in being able to break out on him pretty early, actually.
And if you're in HTRT's position or Magadansky, what would you be thinking at this point? I mean, would you be very wary of it and try to go ahead and get the jump on either of the other players to try and rush in and prevent them from coming to you? Or would you just be focused on taking a bunch of expansions and managing that?
Well, it depends on what race I was. If I was in Maga's position, I'd probably just kind of try to work my way east towards, because I can't remember this replay off the top of my head, but I think Human Star kind of expands in both directions. But I'd want to.
We don't need to give any spoilers.
I would want to work my way towards Human Star, and then as I'm killing him, be able to kill his expansions as well. And that's just purely because even though I'm a human player, I would want to kill the other human, to be honest with you. In HTRT's position, I would totally be worried about the Orc trying to break out on me at any given point, especially because you're so vulnerable for those first 12 to 15 minutes, because all you're doing is teching, because you have to have like 5 buildings going, teching from all of them. Even with the Shredder, you're still kind of behind the 8 ball on the lumber. You're vulnerable for, I'd say, the good 12 to 15 minutes as a human, whereas you're never really vulnerable as undead.
So what do you think of the fact that right now Dase just hit level 2? I mean, he's fairly far behind, but he's already on his tech to tier 3. Well, actually not that far ahead of the other players, but actually I take that back. He's really not at all in front of the other players. So do you think that his strategy so far has been fairly solid, or do you think he would be better off going with a barracks?
Well, that's the interesting thing. You don't actually get slowed down all that much by going with a barracks. But because he's surrounded, he really wouldn't have had access to too many creeps. The other thing is that a lot of people don't notice this, but these middle 4 super undead orc camps are worth so much experience that as long as you get those, and you can do a little bit of denying of other people creeping with your Blade Master, as long as you can get these middle undead orc camps, you can usually get to like 4-3-2, which is pretty good, especially if you're surrounded like he is.
Does appear that he is getting his bestiary up. He's probably about halfway to the fortress. He does have only one expansion. We saw him earlier on trying to grab that second expansion, but he was creep-jacked by HTRT, I believe.
Yeah.
Or no, Human Star maybe. I can't remember which one it was. So he is at a disadvantage at this point. Do you think that he should be trying to set up that second expansion across the map to kind of play nicely with everybody, play it even, or should he be looking to try and break out at the earliest possible convenience?
Well, I would be trying to cross-map expand at this point. The tricky part is that whoever you cross-map expand next to, you're undoubtedly going to end up fighting. Mm-hmm. So if you tried to expand, say, next to Magadansky might let him take the expansion, but he's going to end up having to fight him at some point. So I would, in his position, think, who do I think I have the better chance of beating, depending on racial advantages, and then just go for it. And then it's funny, if you look at the tech between Human Star and Dace, even though one of them skipped Tier 1, basically, they're actually going to hit Tier 3 at the exact same moment.
Same with HTRT, and Maga's only going to be a minute or two behind them as well.
Yeah.
Let's touch briefly on the other players here, since we've been spending a lot of time talking about Dase. So HTRT has gotten 2 expansions up pretty quickly, most likely going to grab this third. Human Star in the same position here. Magadansky limited to 1 expansion right now. What have you thought about other people's creeping so far?
Everybody's pretty much done a really good job. I'd say kudos to Human Star. He's really kind of done a lot, considering he's only... Well, 1, he doesn't have an Archmage, and it takes a lot to get a good creep route with no Archmage, and 2, he's been kind of dancing around. 1, Dace has come by him a few times. He's going towards Maga. It's kind of a tough route to be on. Mm-hmm. Whereas HTRT, he's just kind of left doing his own thing down here in the bottom left.
If we look, I see that both Maga and HTRT managed to grab a Warsong Battle Drum, so definitely going to be an important factor later on in the game, since neither one of them is Orc.
Yeah, in the top left, this is kind of a head scratcher of a move by Dace. He takes this really safe creep camp, but he's got nowhere to kind of go from it. You know, the creep, you should be creeping in kind of a steady flow, where one camp leads to the next camp, needs the next camp, whereas that one just isolates him in the top left, and he has to do all this walking to find his next camp.
Yep, I like HTRT's decision here to go up to 80. The Griffins are going to be very helpful for creeping these middle ones. If he's lucky, he can probably get 3 or 4 of them pretty easily, unless somebody comes by and creep jacks him soon. But he has broken a good bit earlier than everybody else, considering they're all still at 50. So what he's sacrificing in gold advantage, he's going to make up for on his heroes, gaining this Mountain King to at least level 4 probably, and level 2 on the Paladin.
Yeah, you know, I know everybody probably thinks it's crazy that I would practice a creep route or anything more than once or twice on a map, but if you watch a replay of Magadansky's, for example, and I probably watch too many replays, but I know that he usually focuses on the peripheral expansion camps more, which don't really give that much relative experience. So it's actually usually pretty safe to take these middle ones. The other nice thing about what HTRT is doing is that by going 80, if he does find someone, not only is he going to be able to beat them off, he's probably going to get to, I don't want to say tome them, but get a huge advantage over them while really sending them into the gutter.
Mm-hmm. Magadansky's Dreadlord only coming out now, so quite a bit later than the other 3 players' third heroes. Do you think that's particularly important with Undead? I mean, I would probably think that getting that level 2 Lich is the most important, or level 3 Lich, sorry, would be more important than level 2 on the Dreadlord.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of point out real quick, you see in the bottom right Undead Orc Camp thing here, the 80 food really helping HTRT get rid of Daseland there.
And HTRT going to be in a very good position to push should he feel like he is pumping Griffins very quickly. The only thing that might concern me a little bit is they are still 0-0 armor, so if he was to push and Dase was able to mass bat somehow, he might be in trouble. However, Dase does not really have the economy, I wouldn't think, to build too many bats at this point. In addition, he only has 2 bestiaries with a third going up at the moment.
Yeah, and you see Dase here, he got jacked, so now he's like kind of nervous, and he's ending up back at another one of these isolated low-level creep camps. He'll be lucky to get, 4-2 at this point, whereas everybody's going to be at 4-4-2 or 4-4-3 in terms of hero levels.
Yep, and we do actually have one more red camp left by Human Star in the bottom left. So kind of interesting, nobody's gone ahead and grabbed that yet. I suspect Human Star may be trying to save it for later since it is close to his base, although maybe they've just forgotten about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of strange to see that every other, high-level camp, it might be one of those situations where Human Star assumes that HTRT got it, and HTRT assumes that Human Star got it.
And it is pretty far to go if you don't think there are any left. Human Star, though, does look like he's going to grab both this Marketplace creep and then the red camp as well, and possibly even the red camp's natural expansion if he's lucky. HTRT is pushing into Dossiland. Dossiland with a mere 2,000 gold and 400 wood. Probably not going to be a pretty fight. Nice job here by HTRT taking out that Voodoo Lounge, going to prevent more bats from coming out. It does look like Dase is actually going for Wyverns at this point, but I still like the decision to make sure that there are no more items being pumped, or not pumped, bought, and bats cannot be pumped at the same time when you have these Griffin Riders without an armor upgrade. It does look like the Shadow Hunter is going to be focused down. Nice stomp, but the Shadow Hunter is going to go down too late. 3-2 heroes for Daseland. Really not looking very good for him at this moment. Would not be at all surprised to see if HTRT is able to at least push far enough that he completely cripples Dase. The one interesting thing to note, he has not taken out Daseland's expansion, so that does continue to run while this fight is going on. Also, if you could put a headphone on, that would be greatly appreciated because you're picking up a lot of static now. Sorry about that. But yeah, we have Dase is going to continue to pump as much as he can, and HTRT, it looks like, is going to start producing some Dragonhawk Riders to either use Cloud or go ahead and grab these Wind Riders, probably a mixture of both. HTRT can go ahead and push into Daseland's expansion now as well.
Just changing my settings here. Sorry about that.
No worries. Magadansky starting to put on some pressure onto Human Star at this point. Maga is at 80 food at the moment with 1,000 gold, so probably just trying to gain a little bit of experience. HTRT is successfully holding off Daseland. Dase trying to make HTRT leave his base, however, that's not, or his expansion, but that's not going to happen.
And testing, testing.
Yep, you're all good.
All right, good.
So, does look like Dase really not going to be in a good position here. HTRT with 3 expansions. It does not look like Human Star is going to contest the one down here. He does have a farm there to scout it out, but HTRT going up to 100 food now. I don't see any way that Dase is going to be able to survive this. Magadansky taking some advantage of Human Star's lack of defense here, and just going ahead and pushing his expos down a little bit.
And the most interesting thing about this is that HTRT is getting this huge advantage kind of in map control, hero levels, and he's only about 1,500 gold behind Maga, and well, no, he's equal with Maga, and he's a little bit less than Human Star.
Yep, and Human Star really not doing well with wood at this point. He could be in trouble here. We are going to have HTRT going for a full push here. I suspect he's trying to completely end Dossiland. We've got some hawks are going off on the Wind Riders. That's making them die pretty much instantaneously at this point. The Wind Riders only have 2/2 upgrades, which is better than the 1/1 HTRT has going on, but still not very good. This Kodo Beast is going to go down momentarily. I expect we'll see a stun on one of the heroes. Does look like the Blade Master has gone invisible. However, this early creeping advantage that HTRT had over Dase is really paying off. The heroes, despite being Orc heroes and very powerful late game, really not able to do much here. Here comes a stun on the Tauren Chieftain. Will he be able to bring it down? Tauren Chieftain looking very low. Good use of the clap as well, and down goes the Tauren Chieftain. Just Blade Master left for Daseland at this point, not even reviving his heroes. This is going to be GG for Daseland momentarily, I think. And Blade Master looking very low. Blade Master is going to go down. Nope. Nice use of the potion, or the Pot of Invulnerability. But Blade Master going to have to back up here. Does not have a shop, so can't even buy anything to heal himself up.
Yeah, the strangest part about this is that he doesn't rebuy the shop because he's got more than enough space in the back to pull it off. But I think that when you've got someone in your base, you know that you're down 3 expansions done. That's the least of your worries, rebuilding a shop.
Yep, that's certainly true. Let's go ahead and check over here a little bit with Human Star. I don't think we're going to miss a whole lot of this in Dase's base, but Human Star is now harassing Magadansky's expansion, so a little bit of a weird give and take here. Both are going up to 100. Nope, Human Star staying at 80, but Maga is going up to 100 at this point, and it does look like we've got 1, 2, 3 expansions for each of the players at this point. HTRT has dropped down to 80, I believe, actually 70, so he is continuing to bank pretty well off his 3 expansions while having an easy tome on Daseland at this point. I'm guessing it's probably intentional that he is letting Dase rebuild a little bit, since he knows he can take him out whenever he needs to.
And the strangest part to this is that Magadansky's actually watched most of this fight because of Shade, so he knows how well HTRT is doing, but he hasn't said anything as of yet.
Magadansky has, got the shade around scouting everything. Sorry if you just mentioned that. Nice use of the cloud on the Nerubian tower here. So kind of an interesting little army here for Magadansky. Nice mix of fiends, and he's got some necromancers and banshees in the mix here, which is something you don't really see a whole lot of nowadays. Undead usually focusing a lot more on mass guards.
I don't think I've ever seen Mag build a necromancer before, so this is actually kind of enjoyable. I don't think that we mentioned it, or maybe we did, I don't know, but Human Star still only has the 2 heroes, which is, I don't know, oh, I'm sorry, he just built his 3rd, the Archmage, but I don't know, channeling his inner target, maybe.
Very well could be. For those of you not familiar, target is notorious for using only 2 heroes. Down goes that Blade Master, by the way. So Dase pretty much officially out of this game. Nice hero levels for HTRT, getting very close to level 6 on both the Archmage and the Mountain King at this point. Probably not going to manage it from finishing up these units, but not going to be far off either. So he is in very good shape at this point. Surprised he is not taking out some of these watchtowers quicker, and that he hasn't produced another Hawk to try and use Cloud on them, but the Wyverns are getting very, very low. And really, I don't think anybody thinks that Dase has a chance. Interesting, Dase is not choosing to leave, though, which is giving much more experience to HTRT than he would ordinarily get. So really kind of a boon for him.
Yeah, I think that part of the reason, and this is going to sound crazy, but I think part of the reason HTRT is not finishing, like, is like, letting those towers kill his units is that if someone is watching, it might not look that bad in terms of how badly he's beating Dase down.
Certainly possible, yep. Although Magadansky clearly picking up, I mean, HTRT is not actually at 50, but it certainly looks like he is, and Maga is calling him out for just homing Dase at the moment while being at 50.
Although it's kind of his fault for sitting at 63. It looks like 50.
Yeah.
And you're paying the same level of tax on.
I was going to say, it's
63.
very surprising he is sitting at 63. Had he let any of the Griffins die, I might have thought that he was actually just letting them get killed off to go down to 50.
Yeah, maybe. I have no idea why he would do that, but I don't know. He was the champion that season, so he clearly knows what he's doing.
Does look like Magadansky and Human Star have both backed off, attacking each other, just going around the map a little bit quickly. Human Star at 4,000 gold, Magadansky at 1,500, HTRT at 6,000. So despite the fact that HTRT has been on the offensive the entire game, he's still doing very well with gold, beating out both of our other players, and has the hero advantage right now. Human Star forcing Magadansky to come in and TP here. Looks like he's trying to draw him into a fight that Magadansky doesn't want to take at this point. But this could be very interesting. Let's see. Is he going to manage the pull here?
And he clearly just wants to drop down to 80, and he doesn't want to kill his own units, so...
Human Star?
Yeah.
I don't know. He keeps building. I think he's going full 100. And Magadansky using some completely out of control manipulation here. Haven't really seen anything that blatant from him recently.
Maybe it's not really him. Maybe it was a lightweight smurfing his Magadansky.
So we are going to have an 80 versus 100 fight here. This is not going to go that well for Magadansky, it does not look like. 3-2 upgrades for him, 3-2 for Human Star as well, so even in that front, however, fighting down 20 food is never really the best idea. Paladin does hit level 5 on the Mountain King, that's going to get 6 very soon, and Archmage at level 1, so that's probably not hitting 6 all that soon.
Yeah, I'd love to ask Human Star, and I'm sure he wouldn't have a logical reason why he went Archmage 6th or 3rd in this game, but, it's very,
Sometimes
very
you
Mr.
just gotta
Sparkle.
do what you gotta do.
There you go.
Dase actually has built an expansion on the far side of the map, so not giving out hope here. Good for him for rebuilding, although seems somewhat hopeless to me, but you've seen crazier things happen before. Human Star is going to go ahead and continue to push on Magadansky, so this will be very interesting. If Dase doesn't leave, then it's a very good odds that they won't team HTRT yet. There just seems to be some type of mentality saying, whenever you encounter somebody who has knocked them out, that person needs to get teamed. If everybody's still in the game, you can continue fighting no matter what, and scouting's not really important.
You're 100% right. Even though Dase has exactly one Great Hall and one Burrow, and HTRT is fed, he's got map control, and he's clearly got the most gold. They're going to ignore him until Dase is 100% out. Even if he's 99% out, that's not enough to stop ignoring.
The good news is Human Star is just going to go ahead and kill off Dossiland. Because, I guess he was just on the way to Magadansky, but it would be kind of amusing if he decided that. So let's actually take a quick moment. We're going to start with HTRT here, but let's go over some of the items that all the players have, since that's always very interesting to see how the heroes get constructed. The items obviously tell a lot about how they want to focus their army. So why don't you go ahead and start with the Archmage and move through HTRT's heroes, and let me know what you think about the items.
I have no idea why he doesn't have more than my first... I was looking at them, and I'm like, why doesn't he have any parry apt so that he's got the 1? I would completely swap. He's got a kind of that errant parry apt on the Mountain King. No one ever focuses the Mountain King because they know he's not going to die. And I can tell you that Magadansky would either focus the Paladin or he would focus the Archmage, but he's not going to go after the Mountain King.
Yep. And I'm somewhat curious why he's carrying 2 potions of invulnerability on the Archmage at this point.
Maybe he doesn't know that you can't actually use them back to back.
Possible. I think it's unlikely, but maybe he just didn't want to give up one or careless oversight. I do like the fact that the Mountain King has that Medallion of Courage, though. I think that's kind of an underrated item for probably both the Paladin and the Mountain King, boosting that mana pool a little bit. Although with the Brilliance Aura, it does become somewhat redundant later on, I would think.
Yeah, the one thing I would like to see, I think he does overall have a great item build. Just I'd rather see more hit points on the Archmage, and if he could get an Endurance Aura item, that would be fabulous because he's already got the Unholy Aura. Combine that with Endurance, and oh my God, there's still creeps left on this map.
Level 5 for that Paladin.
There you go.
So it does look like we're now actually going to go ahead and team HTRT since he's been allowed to mine off 4 mines for long enough, apparently, and Human Star has decided that this thing moves and he needs to hit it.
And of all things to hit at this point, I don't quite understand why he would go for the main base. You've got to know that you're not going to kill the main base, and you might kill 2 or 3 production buildings, but that's not going to have any long-lasting economical damage on someone who's been mining all game. You need to hit the expansions.
So we see 2 relatively similar but also very different armies at the same time for human players here. Which one would you favor as a pretty decent human player, and why? I noticed that there's really no Dispel for Human Star, which is killing him at this point. It seems to me that HTRT has a little bit of a better balance, although I do like the fact that Human Star has gone for Blizzard first. I'm not sure, but I do not believe that HTRT has retrained to Blizzard yet.
No, he's spamming his water elementals, which I think is fine. At this point in the game, I actually kind of favor HTRT's army just because, even though I don't really like tanks in general, on this map with the speed aura, you can get them into much better positioning, and just generally speaking, having gyros against against tanks is not a good idea.
Yeah, I'd have to agree on that point. Magadansky is doing a little bit of damage here to the expansion, although it goes to show how freaking impossible it is to kill even a basic Town Hall of a human, based off the fact that it's not dead. I don't like the fact that Magadansky is trying to take this fight right now. I think he is massively outgunned, and I think Magadansky is going to agree and probably TP out of here if he can. He is getting somewhat weighed down and trapped here. I am really surprised he continues to take this fight this long, actually.
Yeah, I would have expected him to just start the town portal as he sees HTRT coming in.
Yep.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe he's trying to drop down to 50. He's certainly losing enough as his army at this point. He's bringing in the Acolytes, which I can't see a whole lot of reason to do that unless you want to go ahead and just kill off some food. It does look like he has dropped down to sub 50, so maybe that was the reasoning behind it, and he's going to let Human Star go ahead and try and attack the main part of HTRT's army while he harasses the Expos or something.
And now this was before we banned private messaging, right?
That is correct, yep.
Okay, well, I doubt that they're private messaging, but if they are, that would be a good spot to do so. Have humans start hitting them while you're dropping down to 50.
What language would they do it in, though?
That's a good question. Maybe Magadansky's rapping in, what the hell is he? Bulgarian. And I had to really think about that one.
Yeah. Since Human Star actually does not have the clearest English now, however, it is very much improved over this time. It was actually somewhat illegible, if I remember correctly, around Season 10.
Yeah, you can at least understand him enough when he's poorly manipulating and claiming that he's dead when he's got like 6,000 gold, which literally is his go-to move every single game.
Magadansky finally forced to TP out of here. So actually, I think this would probably be a pretty good point to go ahead and kick it up to 2 times speed, if you agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, now on 2 times speed. So let's go ahead and continue our look at the heroes. Let's move on to Magadansky here. So doesn't look like he's really built his heroes up all that much yet. But he does have some items I think he must have bought from the market.
Yeah, let's take a look. So he's actually, I think that this might all be from his creeping. He's obviously got the nuke bait of a Lich. I'm surprised that hasn't died more, to be honest with you, considering he's against 2 level 5 Paladin MK combos.
Mm-hmm.
But he does have the all-important Khadgar's Pipe of Insight, because Lord knows you're not going to be able to do his Coil, Carrion, Nova spam without it. And he does have the Medallion of Courage, which you pointed out, which is probably the best on the Dreadlord, simply because the Dreadlord needs the ability to spam 2 spells at once. Other than that, it's a pretty basic build. I mean, he does what most undeads don't think to do. So that's why they complain that undead is weak. And he gets the boots on both of his support heroes, which you absolutely need. You can't play undead without boots on your lich, boots on your dreadlord.
Yep. And just to give a quick update, it does look like we're going to have HTRT chasing Human Star around a little bit here. I believe that HTRT must have realized at this point that both are at 50 and hoarding. He has gone up to 80, I believe. Yep. And is going to continue to just play ring around the rosy with the MK that's never going to die due to human imbalanced heroes.
Wait, which part is imbalanced?
All of it.
Okay, yeah, sure. I thought his commentators were supposed to be unbiased.
I am. It's a fact. Have you tried killing a Archmage Mountain King Paladin combination recently?
I'd like to think that if there's one thing I learned how to do well is Elephants beat human players.
Yeah, the key is take him out early.
Well, yes, pretty much. I was going to try to make it sound so much more intelligent than that, but no, you're spot on.
It's very similar to Elf strategy against Orc. Take him out early.
Oh, God. And here we see human going mass gyros versus mass tanks again. Very bizarre.
An interesting strategy. Not one I fully endorse. Interestingly enough, completely forgot he was still in this game, but Dossiland continuing to mine over here.
Yeah, and, at some point he might actually reach tier 3 again. It's funny that either MAGA or Human Star would let him take that mine. I mean, both have to know that at some point they're going to need it.
Yep. And I almost wonder if they're both waiting for him to just build up a lot of army and then get experience from him. I mean, Magadansky is pretty far behind experience-wise from both human players at this point, and a nice, easy Orc Tome could go a long way to help him out.
Yeah, what makes this such an interesting game to watch kind of in historical perspective is that Magadansky is usually at this point like 6'5", and everybody is worrying about him. He's the least of anybody's worries at this point. Well, other than Dase.
And it does look like Maga has decided to go ahead and gain some experience by harassing HTRT here. Just going around the board quickly, if you look, HTRT at 16k, Magadansky at 6k, Human Star at 10,000. So despite the fact that I really feel like HTRT has been on the offensive the entire game, he's doing very well on gold.
The thing about him is that he hasn't had the most expansions. I think that goes to Human Star, but he's been doing such a good job of just not losing armies. Like if you only ever build one army, you're not going to have to worry about gold because you haven't been spending.
That's a good point. And I mean, yeah, even if you are 80, he's dropped down to 50 at a couple of key times, either intentionally or unintentionally. But it really has been a nice job of maintaining it. Magadansky's Death Knight here looking pretty battered. HTRT deciding it's not worth it to chase him, I suppose. And Dase running around the map with that Blade Master.
As long as you got a Blade Master, you got a prayer, right?
Oh, too true. So I'm somewhat surprised Magadansky is actually taking this fight directly to HTRT when his heroes are so massively outgunned at this point, and you really just don't want to fight near an human base. Or attract the attention of somebody with mass teleportation.
Yeah, there's literally no way Maga could win a fight at this juncture because he can't do the hit and run because every time he gets close enough, he's going to lose at least 1 to 2 Gargs to Bolt and Holy Light.
And just an interesting note, HTRT has finished up his mine, so no reason for him not to go to 100, but he is at a 90 food cap at the moment. So probably going to have to rebuild that momentarily. So both Human Star and Magadansky continue to mine with fairly substantial mines, at least for Human Star with that 16k one. Magadansky has several roughly 10k mines at this point. So HTRT either going to have to decide to be very aggressive here and try to end it soon, or he's going to be forced to back off a little bit and try and get a new expansion.
It's interesting. We haven't really seen HTRT do too much mass teleportation at this point, and he's
using it mostly defensively, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and you've got an Undead with 4 expansions, all of which you could take out pretty handily. He can't really do too much to Human Star, though, because of those cannon towers at his main expansion at the 6 o'clock position, though.
Which is a nice decision by Human Star, and something you don't see a terrible lot of from human players these days, is a good way, the cannon tower, which is an excellent way to block off those tanks and prevent them from just rolling through your base. As a night elf player, I'd really like one.
Yeah, proxy AOWs and glaives aren't quite the same.
No. They're effective, but they take a lot more micro.
And we're elf players, we don't have that.
Yeah, I was going to say, our entire game relies around right-clicking.
You sound like you're from the Church of Renaud. And yes, I realize how badly I'm butchering his name.
Renaud, as I've been corrected.
It was always Renaud the fraud to me for like the longest time. So I don't know. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I just want to point out there is a Blade Master still running around in Windwalk, just kind of checking out the map.
Yeah, he's doing a nice job of scouting, and he is up to 4,000 gold. So I mean, as much as we're laughing about it, if he gets completely uninterrupted for the entire game, basically, there's a very good chance that that could come into effect. As I'm saying this, of course, Human Star can go ahead and kill him.
Which is, and this is brilliant timing by Human Star. He knows, I assume from scouting, that HTRT and Magadansky have been going back and forth. There's absolutely no point to not finish him off right now. You're not going to get too much, but you're going to get maybe half a level to 3/4 of a level, and you're not going to lose anything.
Magadansky coming in saying, "Fuck no, I want him." Go away.
And this is actually I've been in Dace's position here before because I never successfully rebuild, and I can tell you it kind of sucks when you know that people are kind of like fighting over who gets to kill you last.
Trust me, that's just my general game type, is people fighting over who gets to tome me.
Yeah, but it's all part of your master plan.
I don't really have a master plan. My master plan is I lose games, so I just go ahead and commentate them.
There you go. Well, you can get your revenge by, using barbed words against the people who defeat you.
Most of them who don't speak English all that well and can't understand them.
Well, all the more reason to become multilingual.
I know. They're a lot more talented than I am, though. Trust me. So we do have HTRT, again, just kind of taking these fights right to Magadansky, doing a nice job of keeping the siege in the front here. Magadansky does have the meat wagons out, so an interesting, I suppose, counter. I mean, it's really the only thing he can do, but they're not the most mobile units ever.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm assuming that HTRT didn't put this much thought into it, but knowing Maga, knowing that he's kind of a prideful player, you have to know that expanding right outside of his base, even if he knows that he's going to lose, which he must know at this point if he keeps fighting these fights, he's going to lose. He's going to still try to fight you, and it's just now you're talking 776 for HTRT. He just keeps getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I'd be somewhat terrified if I was Magadansky of these human heroes. I mean, as an elf, I don't like to see high human heroes. As an undead, it's got to be just absolutely terrifying to see two of each of them. Really can't be a whole lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely.
But if anybody's up to the challenge, it's Magadansky. He is the only one without any level 6 heroes, though we're not counting Dase because he's effectively out of the game despite rebuilding again.
Hey, he's still got Be Serious. He could mass bats, hide him in a corner, and I don't know. In the words of Steppen, YOLO!
Oh, I'd kill you if you're nearby.
Oh my god. I do want to say that Steppen Razor is hilarious to me for his kind of like suicidal YOLO moments nowadays.
Magadansky continuing to lose a good amount of units here, just in case anybody was not following that.
I'm sorry, I'm completely ruining this cast by talking about YOLO. But it's funny because you watch Maga, again, same army composition, against increasingly stronger human heroes. What's the old saying? The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting new results. I mean, I don't know what he could do. He could maybe try necromancers, but that probably wouldn't work at this point.
I was going to say, at this point, I feel like, I mean, he's doing what he's got to do, but I think his best chance is to team up with somebody and get them to play off each other. I mean, if it were anybody but Magadansky, the argument of, I'm undead, how the fuck could you be scared of me, would work perfectly. But with Magadansky, it's always a threat to strike back, and you never really want to let Maga live all that long because he is one of those players that's just going to stick around until the end, and with good reason, players fear him.
Yeah. And it's interesting, he kept saving Dace, but he really needed Dace to die so that he could work with Human Star and have someone to team HTRT with. So no idea why he kept saving him, but who knows, maybe he felt bad for him.
It could be, although that doesn't really sound like Maga, but...
He is a ruthless vampire, after all.
Sucks the blood right out of you. So having something to relatively do with this game, HTRT is mining a 3.5k mine, and Human Star has an 8.7. Human Star with 12k gold, HTRT with 15,000, and Magadansky with 8,000. If they both mine these mines to completion, they'll finish relatively even gold-wise, and they're relatively even with their heroes at the moment as well.
Yeah, though... Mag is still definitely at a distinct disadvantage. One, because he still doesn't have too much HP boosting items on his heroes. They're they're all nuke bait, and well, yeah, pretty much that. And two, going up against not one but two mass CP opponents, or soon mass CP for Human Star, which is pretty impressive given how late he got his Archmage. It's gonna be really tough.
Yep, it is an interesting strategy to go. Just get those two level heroes up early, and I mean the hardest part for him has to be keeping it alive. Nice use of polymorph, by the way, for Human Star here, but really at a disadvantage, and big revive on all his casters at this point. Can't really tell. So there we go. That Archmage is being forced to run away a bit. Interestingly enough, Archmage does not have a stat or a scroll of teleportation on it. HTRT, the first one to TP out, somewhat surprising. Paladin goes down though. That's very surprising.
Wow.
Big move here. I mean, you don't see human heroes go down very often, and losing the Paladin is the biggest of them. Should Human Star feel like pushing it at this point, then that's really going to be an interesting. And HTRT actually TPing in. That's a very interesting choice. I'm not really a fan of it, to be honest.
Well, he doesn't speak much, but like most players, he's got a boatload of pride. And
nice job getting that staff off, and...
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he just mass TP out?
Yeah.
Alright, well, lucky him for not... Oh, I guess he didn't train Bash, right? No, he's got to have at least level 1 at level 8, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, he has no mana for Bolt, but... Alright, well, that was a confusing fight.
Not the best fight HTRT could have had.
No. Although, maybe it's just all part of the master plan to convince Maga that Human Star is the strongest.
It's interesting. HTRT, I think he actually has a better base layout.
You did just see Human Star's Archmage go down in about 0.2 seconds, right?
Oh my god, no, I didn't.
HTRT TP'd in, and 2 seconds later, Human Star's Archmage was dead.
That's awesome. I'm literally like looking at base builds, and you're like, and I just see it's dead, and I'm like, it hasn't had a chance to process by that point.
You've always been a little slow. It's fine.
So mean to me. And he doesn't even have. There's his mass TP. There's regular TP. I can't even speak right now.
Interestingly enough, I mean, HTRT does still have this expansion. He's actually pulled the peasants off of it while he's going up to 100. I'm not sure that's really worth it. I would rather just drain it while Magadansky still lives, since Maga is pretty likely to come in and kill it. Although it does appear Maga's going to go ahead and go for Human Star.
Maga's kind of in a crappy position where no matter who he goes for, it's probably not going to end well for him.
Yep.
And he can't really afford to make either of these guys his enemy, but he has to fight somebody.
Yeah, he needs the experience pretty badly. I mean, it's really, he needs to go and pick people off. I'm somewhat surprised he's bringing his entire army around with him, to be honest. I'm a little curious, and what do you think of the idea of just taking a Frostworm and the 3 heroes to go and pick off units strategically, make it look like you're helping both people so they don't see you as a threat to kill?
You know what? I'm 100% with you that he's not doing that myself. He doesn't have. I guess the one thing for him though is that he doesn't quite have the hero level. So he's got 5, so he could actually pull off some decent hit and run. I don't know. Maybe he's hoping to catch someone with their pants down and actually pull off a nice little coup.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if he gets the right timing, it's certainly possible, but he is... and by right timing, I do not mean fighting Human Star 1v1 straight up with 2 levels down on each of his heroes, just in case anybody was curious.
So the one thing about fighting Human Star is that he's got this really crappy, kind of closed-off Death Star build, and this used to be the only way people built their bases, but it's really hard to weave in and out of these towers, whereas if you look at HTRT's base, he's got a really open build, so he can fight in the middle of his towers at any given time.
Mm-hmm. Although HTRT's base actually is pretty vulnerable from the back, should somebody want to go in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, Twilight Ruins is a pretty open map, so probably want to extend that type of base around the edges, but definitely the more flexible way to go, I would say. Especially once Maga manages to gain level 6 on the Lich and can use Death and Decay, Human Star's bases can go down very quickly. Human Star here taking a pretty good fight to HTRT. I mean, HTRT losing a lot of units very quickly here, and that Archmage is going to be stunned. Archmage looking very low. Archmage goes down again. So Human Star doing incredibly well in these fights so far. Human Star's Archmage looking very low too, though. Does get a TP off here, and HTRT losing units to these towers, but down goes the Archmage for Human Star. So Magadansky is missing out on a lot of free poaching experience here, but he is taking a lot of the base down very quickly. Surprised he's not going for the altar, to be honest.
He might actually want that hero to come out, because he's so low on towers at this point that if Maga plays his cards right, he can easily overrun what little army Human Star has left. It looks like he's just really trying to pick off the outside stuff right now, though.
Do you think continuing to fight here Magadansky versus Human Star is the right call, or do you think that Magadansky should be a little more worried about HTRT at this point, who still has 10k gold, although he has dropped down to 49 food at this point?
I mean, honestly, I understand in the moment why Maga would be doing something like this, but if you look at the big picture, he hasn't won a single fight against HTRT this game. He's got to be worried that even if he does get a few levels here, it might not be enough in the long run.
At the same time, though, I mean, Magadansky has been well below the hero levels of HTRT all game. Do you think that, should he win this fight, I mean, Human Star continues to have a pretty big army. He'd probably get at least level 6 on the Lich, or the Dreadlord too, I think. I mean, that might be enough to take the fight to HTRT. I think he's probably should be a little more worried about gold. He is relatively low compared to HTRT at this point. And HTRT actually continued to mine. I had not noticed that, but he has taken Human Star's mine here at 6 o'clock.
At 50 food, what a ninja.
Mm-hmm. So, that part I think you're probably right about. I'm not sure I have a huge problem with Magadansky trying to take down some more of Human Star's army at this point, though. Probably the only thing to really worry about is making Human Star suicide you.
And, at this point, I don't know if HTRT realizes it or not, but HTRT is food blocked, and he only has one hero, so there's not even that much he can do.
Mean Human Star?
I'm sorry, Human Stars, yeah.
And Magadansky is actually switching over to HTRT, so it's just the free-for-all instinct. That's something that you have to learn by playing all these games. I think a lot of players would have continued to push on Human Star and try to come down. As I'm saying this, it looks like Magadansky's actually going to go ahead and continue to do that, though.
If I doubted that we both hadn't really watched this replay right beforehand.
I mean, that would be preparation. When's the last time either of us were prepared for anything?
That's crazy talk. At this point, he might as well either A, finish him off and commit to it, or B, team with him, but he's kind of waffling in the middle, and that's where you get into trouble.
Yep, I completely agree. I mean, three-way being decisive, either for the best or for the worst. You got to pick one or the other. There is a lot of chat going on. Have you been reading it all? Because I've just been ignoring it.
I zone out when it comes to chat.
Yep. I'm guessing that Magadansky and Human Star are talking, and Human Star is trying to convince him that he should not be killed. Paladin does not have a mana. This could be very interesting.
Well, I guess he did convince him not to kill him.
Yep, looks like it. I don't know. This is all very confusing to me. It looks like he's just shadowing him. Magadansky, personal bodyguard to Human Star.
It's actually kind of creepy to watch. There you go. Rebuys both of his heroes.
Well, here we go. It's nighttime. Magadansky, the vampire, he's just stalking his prey.
Exactly. This is right in his wheelhouse.
So I see some chat about you coming. So I think Magadansky is trying to convince Human Star they need to jointly hit HTRT at this point.
And everybody's misunderstanding everyone else. Hey, all right, here we go. Offensive up in Magadansky's base. First offensive TP of the game, and we've got Magadansky's base falling pretty fast.
And Magadansky only has 5 units here.
A daring move indeed.
Saying I don't even need my entire army, but here we go.
I think whoever's playing against Maga this week should use this as manip against him. He's so good he doesn't even bring his entire army to defend against humans.
I'm just going to make that his official model of FML. It does look like HTRT here going in a nice move, trying to completely block out Human Star. It's going to take a long time for Magadansky to walk over here. I really like this move by HTRT to try and go ahead and just finish off Human Star and take out one of his opponents. Way too often, in my opinion, we see players try and play the 2v1 and not really know what to do. Paladin, nice invulnerability there. Good job by HTRT getting this Archmage out of the way. Archmage is looking very low, though. Does have 2 lesser invulnerability potions on him still, actually. Apparently did not feel the need to use it later on. Magadansky going ahead and going into HTRT's base at this point, though. Both players are going to have to back away. HTRT going to leave Human Star's base, and Magadansky going to run like fuck to get the hell out of here, I think. Although, he should not hightailing it nearly as fast as it would be if I was in those boots.
Yeah, maybe he just really seems to enjoy losing heroes or units trailing behind him. But a bold decision by him, Cotton.
I mean, when you're that good, you just feel the need to go ahead and give some free experience to your opponents. It's the only way you can make it fair.
All right, so he got his castle, which is kind of a big deal. Human's probably the only race that really, I guess Undead does too for gargoyles, but losing his castle means no more tanks, no more griffins. So he does have 5k left, but 5k he can't really spend. HTRT, that is.
Yep. I figured. It does look like he's actually going to go ahead and try and rebuild and tech back up. He is losing his satellite expansions, too. He's down to a few towers and 2 extra town halls, so Human Star and Maga doing a nice job of going ahead and killing those off. Human Star food locked at 36 at this point, so probably not where he wants to be at this moment. And interestingly enough, he did a really nice job early on of creating a bunch of farms around the map to make sure he had buildings and can get base killed. Everybody at this point, though, is at a very real juncture in life where they could get completely base wiped. A little harder for the humans to have it done to them, but still a possibility at this point. I mean, when all these people are fighting 2v1, I would not be surprised to see one thing go wrong and an entire base fall down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially, Maga's, of course, at the most vulnerable. I mean, it's funny, he's got the full base, but undead bases
undead.
Undead bases aren't worth half the gold that they're built for, so... meanwhile, HTRT, no castle, but his base is pretty damn solid still.
Yep, and Maga losing units very quickly here. Down goes that Frostworm. That's going to be very painful for Magadansky. You really don't want to lose those this late in the game. I'm not sure why Magadansky is not teleporting out of here. He really is losing a lot more units than worth, and he's not killing anything of HTRTs at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tricky part, because HTRT is doing a great job of kind of counter-kiting him, luring him in with the promise of an easy griff kill, and then just dragging all of those units over those tanks.
And for those of you that are thinking this is very easy, and what HTRT is doing is kind of instinctual, this Archmage looking very low for Human Star. Human Star does staff it out here, but Magadansky is probably the best kiter in all of free-for-all at this point. So the fact that HTRT is kind of making him look like a fool this game is both very unique and very impressive, a testament to HTRT's skill.
And down goes that Paladin.
Yep. And don't want to lose the Paladin for human, since HTRT now could very easily just go ahead and focus down a hero with the incredible level 9 Mountain King he has now. Kind of surprised he hasn't decided to change up the items or sell some off, but he may be waiting to go below 50 to do that.
At this point, he's still got plenty of gold. He probably realizes no one's going to team with him, so there's no point in selling items to look weaker. He probably just figures, YOLO!
Alright, this may be the last time you're invited onto a Shoutcast rec.
I'm sorry. I take it back.
You should. But I was actually just thinking, even substituting that Medallion of Courage for another Parafet or some more health items. I mean, the human heroes are pretty hard to kill already, but they really can become pretty much invulnerable.
Well, the best part about HTRT is he still actually has the same 2 potions of invulnerability as when we were making fun of him before, and I think he's lost his Archmage at least twice in that time. So
he used one though.
Oh, there we. Literally, whatever we say happens. So
the game will end right now. Oh, that didn't work.
Darn. Game just crashes for both of us.
Then I'd be convinced God. Yep. On the other hand, HTRT now using some good manip and saying, Maga wins, let's team him.
Actually, I mean, he's saying that, but he's saying it in a pretty constructive way. I mean, maybe Human Star is losing sight of the fact that even if he does manage to kill HTRT here, he still actually has to face one other person. One thing people always say is help or we lose or something like that. Well, there's no we in free for all. Even if you beat one person, you still have to worry about the other.
We make sure that we turn team lock off before the game starts for all you listening. This is probably not the best time to say it, but do you see any peasants for Human Star? I'm curious if he doesn't have any?
He has no peasants. He can't rebuild. He's actually been revealed this entire time. So that's why losing heroes isn't strange. It's not the end of the world for him, because all he can really do is rebuy his heroes at the. Oh, there you go. There goes the other. There goes the other invulnerability potion on the Archmage.
So, at this point, I almost think that Human Star is pushing a little bit too far on HTRT. Since I don't see anything, there will be no tanks for Human Star, and while Undead Base is incredibly easy for a human to kill, that's mostly due to the fact that tanks just roll through it. So if I was Human Star, I'd be starting to get a little bit nervous, I think, about the odds of my being able to take out Magadansky with only 36 food.
Hey, there's some chat about me. It looked like people were making fun of me, though, so...
It's okay, sorry. Rec. We love you. Just tune it out. We have therapy. Lightweight's counselor.
I can't believe people really thought I was that Mighty Murk guy. God.
Hey, I had no idea who the fuck you were, so I didn't.
I know, it's just I'm just reading this chat, and it's where Warpex explains that I wasn't in this season because he forgot to invite me.
He didn't forget.
He intentionally didn't do it?
Yep.
That
on my advisement.
You just said you didn't even know who I was.
I know, but I didn't like you.
You jerk.
Wow.
So at this point, it's actually kind of funny. HTRT doesn't have a base, and Human Star doesn't have a base. So, I mean, logically, you have to go after the one person who does have a base, which is unfortunately Magadansky. I don't know where they're going.
Relatively nice base for Magadansky, too. We haven't really talked about it at all, but I'd like to see a few more Nerubian towers in there, I think. I'm really not a huge fan of Spirit towers. I think that the frost effect is much more valuable than the extra 15 damage you get from the Spirit towers, especially late game like this, where even the heroes can roll through the towers. But overall, I like the fact that he has so many extra necropolises. It's certainly something Undead, and to a lesser extent Night Elf, need to learn to do, is build those extra mains. I mean, it's way too easy to lose those. It can take about 4 seconds, and if you're not careful, then you can no longer TP into your base, and there goes the rest of your base.
Exactly, and some things that I've actually seen Mag actually go a second main base in his, or a second Acropolis, and tech it in his main base, just so that if he does lose his Citadel, he still can build gargoyles. I would like to see some of his Spirit Towers a little bit more spread out. As I said, I really hate this Death Star build that he's got. It's so vulnerable to being killed, but, you know, old habits and all that jazz.
And aside from Blizzard, it's probably not that terrible against human. They don't have a whole lot of AoE. I mean, It's certainly not the greatest, but it's not nearly as bad as against an Undead who's going to use Death and Decay on you. Magadansky actually taking this fight to HTRT and then TP's out, as I say that. And Human Star is base, so they are beginning to team him here. Just goes to show that good players will correctly team, and that Death Knight looking very low. Death Knight does get off that pot. Very good job on that. I'm really surprised it's not getting further out of range, though. Kind of worried that it's going to be taken down. There it goes. So down goes the Death Knight, and Human Star in a good position to go ahead and push here. Does not decide to do it. But I really thought he was going to go ahead and at least get that Lich. Death Knight is pretty much the entire Undead army, and Maga is out of gold.
Wow, yes he is. Mag is not like most players. He will actually drop down to 0 gold for that last army. One, because he can always sell off a couple of buildings, but two, he's kind of that mindset that as long as I'm a little bit ahead of my opponent, I've got the better micro, I can probably pull it off.
Or he'll just hide it.
There you go. He's actually really good at hiding armies. I can speak from experience on that one.
We do have very close to trip 10 heroes for HTRT at this point. Not sure it makes a huge amount of difference at this point, but does go to show you how well he's been doing in these fights. We still have not even seen level 6 for the Dreadlord. That's going to be very soon. But he is well ahead of everybody else. Human Star probably not too far off, but not going to hit trip 10 in the game. And Magadansky, no real chance of hitting triple 10. He really does need to get Inferno off soon, though. All it will take is probably a tank kill or maybe 2. And once you get Inferno, I mean, that's just super helpful versus Human.
Oh god, yeah. The chaos damage just takes down both the Infernals, and something that's been really getting him is these Spellbreakers. Infernals take them both down pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. The Spellbreakers are a really big problem for Undead. I mean, they're so reliant on their nukes, and if you get those focusing your heroes for too long, all your mana just instantaneously goes away.
And looks like he's been trying to pick off some of those Dragonhawk Riders and finally did get that level 6.
And there we go. And Archmage goes down. Very nice play by Magadansky. I mean, you can see why his micro is referred to as being so superb. However, this Death Knight is still going to be in trouble here. Death Knight looking very low again, and it's going to go down. So I'm really curious. I mean, I guess he doesn't have the gold for it, but he needs some type of potion of vulnerability, scroll of teleportation, something that can get that Death Knight out of the way. And Magadansky does not have any external buildings here. If they finish off his buildings, he's going to be completely done. It does look like they're going to do it. And he says, okay, I'm going to suicide. Who is he going to decide to suicide? I think he's going to go for Human Star, but it's a fake suicide as he comes back to his base. This is going to be very, very close for Magadansky. He easily could go down on the drop of a dime. And down goes one Frostworm, hits level 10 on that Archmage, and he's forced to back up a little. Down goes the Lich. Not in good shape at all. Magadansky has only one hero left, does not have an altar to revive, and I do not see an Alkalite on the map either, so he can't even sell off his thing. So he'll have to sell some units before he does anything else. Or items, sorry.
Yeah, and unfortunately I think at this point he doesn't have quite the items to pull that off. Now the one thing that he's got going for him is he's got the Dreadlord left, and we're in a base race situation. As long as he's got that Dreadlord going, he can easily take down buildings. Although he doesn't have the buildings himself to pull off a base race, so really not sure what his plan would be at this point. But
what do you think of Human Star's decision here to... Magadansky basically says, stop hitting me, I'm going to help you kill off HTRT. If you're in Human Star's shoes, do you finish off Maga, not believe him, and try and get the safe win? Or do you think that Maga's being serious and try to get the help with the understanding that later on you may need to kill off Magadansky, and it is letting one of your opponents live longer than he needs to?
I would let Maga stay at this point. You know, the problem is that HTRT has all these tanks left. Easy for him to do the base race. All Human Star has left is these heroes, and he's not going to be able to take out all of HTRT's base fast enough with that.
Yep, I think I gotta agree with you. It's not something I would feel good about, but it's pretty much the only way. Archmage on Humi is looking very, very low at this point. He does have that potion of invulnerability at least, but...
Ooh, and there goes the
yeah. Wow. Dreadlord just able to get out of the way there. Dreadlord is very close to dying as well. So, this game just got a lot more interesting. I mean, I don't see any altar to revive for HTRT. He's probably going to have to use the tavern if he wants to get it back.
He's got a peasant down at the 6 o'clock position, and Human Star
rebuilding the altar. There you go.
Yep. Human Star just flew over it, though, so he should see it.
Yep.
Should being the keyword.
HTRT looking to lose a lot of tanks here. Up in comes the Mass TP. Let's see if he can hold them off without it. Paladin gets staffed out of there, so we've got an Archmage and a Mountain King versus a Mountain King and a Paladin. I like the Mountain King Paladin. Oh, wait, he did tavern it back, actually.
There you go.
All right. Well, probably the smart decision there, although it certainly cost him a lot of gold. I'm guessing he's down to 90 gold at this point. If you're in HTRT shoes, what are you doing here? Are you trying to kill off all of Human Star's base? Are you trying to finish off Magadansky?
I would have saved my tanks and gone and finished Magadansky, although Magadansky, 1 o'clock position, rebuilding and expanding. I guess he did have a Acolyte somewhere. Did not see it. Oh, he
sold off an item and then rebuilt built the Acolyte from his 2 necropolises.
And HTRT losing all of his old main base to 3 very slow-working destroyers.
Slow and steady wins the race, Wreck.
There you go. I know all about that. Especially the slow part.
So it does look like HTRT is sending one of his siege engines here. I'm guessing he's going to mass TP onto it. Nice job by him splitting his army, probably. If you're Human Star Sheath, what are you trying to do? Do you go for the entire base kill, or do you try and defend your base?
He's knowing him, he's going to try to do both. I would just try to take the fight to HTRT's heroes, because even though he has the lower hero levels, he's been doing surprisingly well in terms of getting hero kills off, especially on that Paladin of HTRT's. So I'd want to try my luck and just hope that HTRT has a slip of his micro.
Yep, Human Star's Archmage, though, looking pretty low now, no longer has that potion of vulnerability. Paladin does have enough for several more heals, though, and doing a nice job of keeping the Paladin out of the way. Nice surround here, though, by HTRT, and we're going to have a Mass TP stun, and down goes the Archmage. That's really going to hurt Human Star. He's not going to be able to revive without selling off all of his items, I don't think. Mountain King looking low as well. In comes Magadansky with his Dreadlord to try and help out a little bit. Dreadlord does not have any items on it, though, going to be very, very weak should HTRT decide to go ahead and try and take it down. HTRT's Archmage looking low, though. Sleep goes off on the Mountain King, gives it time to back up a little bit. And this is going to be a very interesting fight with essentially 2 human heroes and 1 undead hero against 3 human heroes that sync so well. This Archmage is looking very low again. HTRT doing a fantastic job of microing it around, just creating everything that he's got. However, I suspect we'll see a sleep go off. Paladin goes down for Human Star, actually, so HTRT, despite all that's going on, is going to be able to get pretty much everything away. Mountain King does have the teleportation. Down goes the Dreadlord for Magadansky. Oof. That's certainly not what he wants to see at this point in the game.
And it's funny, had he just waited, spammed one more Infernal, he might have actually had this game won. Looking at HTRT's base, those destroyers of his have really just whittled him down to practically nothing at this point.
Although he does have 1 farm hidden at 6 o'clock Mercenary Camp, and he's got some tanks going to do exploratory damage, although, okay, in comes the TP. So HTRT doing a nice job of multitasking here. Is aware of how weak he is, only 3 buildings left, and does have a fair number of items he can sell off on the hero still. At least nice surround here on the Paladin. This is just a really well-played position on HTRT. Paladin, despite everything, not going to be able to do much. He does have only 20 gold as well. Down goes the Paladin. Human Star not looking in good position, despite the Archmage coming in here and using the Cyclone just a little bit too late.
And HTRT about to finish off that altar that was only 3/4 of the way done with the Dreadlord, and it's unfortunate because the Dreadlord would have been helpful, whereas at this point the Death Knight can do very little to influence the game.
Yep. And Magadansky, just very few buildings left at this point. However, he is using his Death Knight to slowly just hack away at the keep. I suspect we will see some mass teleportation on top of the Dreadlord and a dead Death Knight before too long.
Oh, Frostmourne hungers, man. Come on. This is going to be like the slowest building kill of all time, but he might get it.
Yeah, he's still going to have 2 more to kill, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, for him at least, the farm at 6 o'clock is almost dead. And
Human Star not coming to help, interestingly enough. I would think that Human Star... here we go. We got HTRT, so he has left... Down goes the Archmage again. Not terribly surprising. HTRT, I believe, has scouted this altar. And, yep, there goes the tank. So, not looking good for anybody that's not named HTRT at this point.
actually, yeah, I have to admit I didn't even see the farm at the bottom left. The way that it kind of blends in with the building to the left of it is pretty beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there we go. We got one necropolis going up in the middle here for Magadansky. I didn't see that originally. I was kind of wondering how he's alive. Down goes the Mountain King for Human Star, and here we go. We got a surround / nuke on Death Knight, and oh wow, how did that happen?
Oh god, beautiful usage of fog there. He just kept hugging the walls so that he couldn't get the line
down
of sight.
Goes that main though for HTRT. So I do believe he has scouted it, and yep. Destroyer is going to go ahead and kill off this farm, so this is going to be a very close ending here. We've got a nice little usage of his teleportation. Going to go ahead and kill. I believe that the fog is gone on Magus buildings. Oh no, he's got the necropolis, so the necropolis is still hidden. We've got one farm down by that marketplace you're talking about. We've got the arcane vault. Surprised we're not seeing. Yep, here we go. Mass TP onto it, and Death Knight. Down goes the Death Knight, so 2 destroyers left. That's all he's got. And Magadansky does not have enough to pretty much do anything else. Human Star continuing to play a role in this now. He has one little hawk that goes down.
Oh, that poor hawk.
So we've got 2 Destros that are going to be rather hard to kill for HTRT. And interestingly enough, HTRT... Oh, okay, he's mass TPing near his thing, and Magadansky probably a little surprised that he's not dead now that... There we go, Destroyer's going to escape. Just a little bit of health, so he knows exactly where it is. So he's got 1 Destroyer on the farm. What exactly will happen? We've got the last minute of the Necropolis is here. So we've got 2 Destroyers on the farm. We have HDRT going full out on the Necropolis. Magadansky is out of the game. We've got Human Star versus HTRT. No army for Human Star. So this is going to be good game, and HTRT is going to pull it off.
The 337 farm wins the game.
Yep. So that, everybody, is exactly why this is such a well-regarded replay. Everything certainly comes into the very end. We do actually have a sapper here for Human Star running around. I did not notice that.
Oh my god. And he's got the 1 farm at 6 o'clock if he... that's too bad.
Did Human Star... No, he didn't die. He gave up, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know why he did that. He had 2 sappers.
Well, it's very unlike the Germans to give up at war early, so that's a very bizarre decision of his there.
Human Star is part Russian, so that could be why.
There you go.
But certainly one of our more interesting games. Definitely a good game to watch at 2 times speed for a lot of it.
Yeah, that's not one that you want to sit there digesting at 1x, but at 2x it was actually pretty enjoyable.
Yep, I gotta agree. Just looking through the main menu here, anything that you want to do as a takeaway from this game, or anything interesting, thoughts, comments, remarks?
I think you summed it up best. What got HTRT this win is that he managed somehow to pull off hyper-aggression and either stay at or above everyone else's gold count. I'm not entirely sure how he did it. I'd say by not losing fights, which is easier said than done, obviously. But really, he just kind of had a game plan that he was going to go out and fight nonstop. And he not only did that, but he did it so well that he was able to say, I'm going to have all the gold and the highest heroes, and he pretty much did all game.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the gold mined, Human Star mined 5,000 more gold overall than HTRT did. HTRT only mined an extra 1,000 on Magadansky, basically. So, really, I mean, you're exactly right. It comes down to the fact that he didn't lose units. He took the fight to other people, and when the fight did come to him, he did a remarkable job of kiting it. I mean, you don't see human players kite very often, but he did a great job of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually, you said it best. Magadansky is the best cutter that we have right now, and even HTRT made him look kind of like a joke in that game, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. And kind of an interesting little stat line here. HTRT with 302 unit kills and 122 buildings raised.
Well, that's what killing everybody in the game gets you.
Apparently so. But on that note, I got nothing else to add unless you do.
I think that's it for me.
All right, so this has been Mage.
And this is Wrecktify.
Peace out.
Bye, everybody.